Okay, I'd like to call the January City of Oklahoma City Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order. Paula, would you call the roll?
Alan Brown.
Present.
Jennifer Bourne.
Present.
Heather Clemmer.
Present.
Neela Crank-Clements.
Present.
Greg Eddington.
Present.
George Massey.
Present.
Mary Jo Meacham. Jeffrey Parks.
Present.
Ann Zacharitz.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Paula. I'd like to go over to the procedures before we get started. To print on the back of the agenda, the first page of the agenda. The chairman will announce each case and ask any party having interest in the case to indicate their presence by raising their hand. Commissioners will then discuss the details of the case, calling on staff to provide details of the proposals. Following this discussion, commissioners may choose to ask questions of the applicant, the staff, and any other interested party. Interested persons may speak to support or protest the application. The applicant will be entitled to one brief rebuttal. Interaction between applicant and protestants on the floor is not permitted. Persons speaking are asked to approach the center podium one at a time to introduce themselves by name and address and to present their position as succinctly as possible, and if you would also sign in. The Commission asks each speaker to limit his or her remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Following the public hearing on application, the Commission will take one of the following actions. Number 1, approve the certificate of appropriateness. Number 2, continue the proposal. Number 3, deny the proposal with prejudice, which means the application may not be resubmitted for at least 1 year unless the Commission determines that circumstances have changed. Number 4, deny the proposal without prejudice, which means the applicant may reapply at any time. And then when an application has been approved and after a 10-day protest period has expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the CA to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA has been issued. And finally, any person aggrieved by any decision granting or denying a CA may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the Board of Adjustment. Okay, with that, I'm going to have to leave in a minute, so I'm going to turn the meeting over to Vice Chairman Jeff Parks.
All right, so as we approach our cruising altitude, the co-pilot's going to take over the plane. Okay. All right, thank you. Alan, from the Office of the Historic Preservation Officer.
The June, should say 2016, Historic Preservation Commission meeting is scheduled to occur on May 25th instead of the first Wednesday in June. That's so that the Commission can attend the statewide Historic Preservation Conference. We will be reporting that on every agenda from now until that meeting so that applicants know that the meeting is a different date, the deadline is a different date. If you're planning to apply for that June meeting, you need to check your calendars. Then the statewide preservation conference is scheduled for June 1st through 3rd, 2016 in Enid. And we have some funds available for commission members to attend. Staff will be attending, and it's open to the general public as well, of course. In December, there was a workshop for all commission and committee members, all of our different design review bodies. And I think this was left on from the previous month, but just reporting that we had great attendance at that, and I think really good participation and a lot of good information received. And then we will have a special workshop for the Commission January 27th from 11:30 to 1:30, and that agenda should be posted in the next week or so.
Great. Thank you, Katie. Acceptance of minutes of previous meeting. Are there any comments or corrections from the December Historic Preservation Commission meeting? If not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to have a second.
Second.
Motion from Alan Brown, a second from Ann Zacharitz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Code enforcement reports.
Good afternoon. Any questions, comments, concerns? A lot of shaking heads. I love it.
Thanks for coming over today.
Call me, email me if you got questions.
Greg, I have something to report to you
Okay.
that the Commission probably wants to know as well. We've been reviewing an application for the house at 916 Northwest 40th that was on the dilapidated list, and they're moving right along. We've just gotten applications in on 2 other dilapidated structures that are going to be renovated and repaired. 204 Northwest 20th has come in with an application, and
Been watching it.
2820, what was that other one? One of the other ones that we reviewed as a dilapidated structure. Sorry, I didn't write them down.
North
but-
Robinson.
North Robinson, yep. So, we'll see how those progress and how they move forward, but just exciting to see structures that were in such bad shape.
I've
turning
been
around.
watching those, and I've got photos of their construction and what they've been doing. 2900 Harvey's got permits. They're moving along. 117 on 28th. Construction stopped. I think the ownership changed, but they've picked back up. They're started again, so I'm glad to see that.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to come to a halt, and then we'd have to start that dilapidated process again, but they picked it back up where they left off, so hopefully they'll continue to. We don't want to lose that one either.
Yeah. That's all.
Thank you. All right, moving on to continuance, announcements, and requests. We had 3 uncontested requests listed on the agenda. Were there more? Is that it?
Nope, it's just the 3 on the agenda. We need a separate motion on each one, and let me check if they're all to the February meeting. Angela, do you recall on Ty McBride's if that was for the February or March to continue? 15-90. 15-90, if they wanted February or March. Okay.
February 3rd.
That's February 3rd. 15-125 we have is February 3rd. And all 3 of them are February 3rd.
Okay, but we need separate motions and votes on all 3 of them.
Correct? Yep.
Okay,
I move to continue HPCA 15-00090 to the February 3rd meeting.
Second.
motion from Neela Crank Clement, second from Jennifer Bourne. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Make a motion on HPCA-15-00125 to continue to the February 3rd meeting.
Second.
I have a motion from Heather Clemmer, a second from Jennifer Bourne. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And the third one.
Move to continue HPCA 15-00188 to the February 3rd meeting.
Second.
Motion from Neela Crank Clement, second from Jennifer Bourne. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. No new requests. No dilapidated structures this month. National Register nominations. We have 2.
We have 2 National Register nominations. Both of these are anticipated to be historic tax credit projects. Linda Ozan is here from the State Historic Preservation Office to answer questions related to the nominations. We'll just briefly go through each of the properties. The first one is Sunshine Cleaners at 1002 Northwest 1st Street. And as the name suggests, this was a laundry facility, cleaners. It is being nominated for its architectural significance as an unusual use of Art Deco in an industrial facility. It's located in the west side of downtown where there were a lot of industrial structures in proximity to the railroad. And you've got the National Register nomination report attached, as well as photos that are coming up. The iconic sign that everybody recognizes was added in 1953, as was a drive-through for cars. So the commission is asked to make a recommendation on the nomination of Sunshine Cleaners to the mayor and city council, Oklahoma Historic Preservation Review Committee, and the State Historic Preservation Officer, keeper of the National Register.
I would just mention that this building's in pretty rough shape, but I think it's very commendable that they are doing something with it. I think it speaks very well to the fact that just because a building is old and hasn't been well taken care of doesn't mean that it necessarily has to be torn down. So I'm excited to see this nomination.
Linda has, are the owners on board with this? Do they know about this?
The owners initiated the nomination.
Okay.
They are doing it as a tax credit
Okay.
project and have initiated the sent the Part 1 to the Park Service.
Okay, so that was my next question. Thank you.
Hi, Linda. Welcome. Any other questions? Or is there a motion?
I recommend the nomination of Sunshine Cleaners to the mayor and city council, the Oklahoma Historic Preservation Review Committee, the State Historic Preservation Officer, and the keeper of the National Register, and adopt the resolution provided as part of the staff report.
Second.
I have a motion from Neela Crink Clements, second from Heather Clemmer. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you.
I'm just going to stay here.
Don't go away.
Our second nomination is for the electric transformer house at 2412 North Ollie, and this is just outside of the Paseo district, both for our review purposes and for National Register purposes, although it did go to Urban Design Commission already for their review. It's one of those areas where borders touch. The electric transformer house was built in 1911 and is another kind of industrial utility structure for processing, transforming electrical current in response to the residential, don't ask me what that means, in response to the residential development growing through Oklahoma City, and it's remained in use till 52 when technological advances made it no longer functional. It's the only one of its kind that would be on the National Register for the state of Oklahoma, and is also a tax credit project that already has their Part 1 and Part 2 approved.
Very exciting. Any comments or questions? Sorry, try to come up with something tough, Dad. You know,
you-
really
you
stump you.
always
I couldn't
try,
come up with
but-
anything. So. If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I recommend the nomination of the electric transformer house to the mayor and city council, the Oklahoma Historic Preservation Review Committee, the State Historic Preservation Officer, and the keeper of the National Register, and adopt the resolution provided as part of the staff report.
Second.
We have a motion from Neela Crink Clements, second from Jennifer Bourne. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. That one passes as well.
Thank you very much, and I will be back in February with another nomination.
Great. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you. We'll see. No items on the consent docket today, so there's a hiccup. Cases for individual consideration.
HPCA 15-00086 at 2604 North Chartel Avenue, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Mike Asaph Living Trust for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace driveway required, and 2, install asphalt parking lot required. This application is out of continuances. We have not received the documentation that's been requested previously and don't have anything giving us the ability to administratively approve it. It doesn't meet those guidelines, so staff's recommendation was denial at this point.
Is there anyone here to speak on this application?
Greg, have you worked with the applicant?
I actually spoke with him about a month ago. Could you go back to the first photo that showed all 3 properties? The one on the right has a garage that's in the alley, which is Guernsey Way, which is closed and vacated, and that's the only parking for that structure. They had been parking illegally in the yard over here because he's limited to parking. The lot to the far left was a non-conforming lot, gravel. He could have left it that way, and that was the only parking that he had, but all 3 structures are rentals. There's 2 units in the one on the right. I've had him under violation for some code complaints for a while, and the last we spoke, he was diligent about doing something, so I'm kind of surprised that he didn't finish through with it. Yeah, any particular question you have? Because I thought this would be a done deal.
Did he suggest that he was going to go forward and correct it, or
Yes.
what is the correction? What would the correction be?
Well, he was going to pave the lot to the left, and quite frankly, he didn't necessarily have to, because it falls as a nonconformity that was previously a gravel lot, he could have kept it as a gravel lot. But he was going to go ahead and pave that area, and I haven't looked at the actual submitted plans if he was trying to request extending it to add for more spaces, because he was limited on his parking. He has about 5 or 6 parallel parking spaces where that black car is, and then there's a blue truck that you see is actually the driveway for this house in the middle. It goes straight all the way to the back, and some tenants park there and some park over here. The building on the right, there's absolutely no parking except for the garage in the back, which has been closed off and sealed up forever. So unless he parks in the alley and in the street, I mean, who really wants to park on Chartel?
Greg, I have a question, and this would also be for Katie. You said something about it was non-conforming. It was an asphalt parking lot before, so we can go back with asphalt. That's not
No,
true.
it was gravel.
I mean, gravel. That's
Yes.
not true, right?
He can just continue it to be gravel.
Yeah, we can't make him tear it out, but in his new application,
Right, he can't put more gravel in.
right.
He could have kept it the way he did, but when he tried to expand it, then he lost his nonconformity. So now he's kind of stuck. He's going to have to do something, and this is the only remedy today. You're allowed to, you can't expand the existing nonconforming gravel lot. He can maintain it, keep the grass out of it. A couple of years back, Spectre wandered in there and wrote everybody parking tickets because it looked like they were all on the grass. And we dismissed those tickets for those tenants because that is actually a legal, very ancient, old, non-conforming lot, and he could have kept it that way. But whenever he started to alter the dimensions by expanding it with cross ties and adding more gravel, now he's got to have a permit to remedy the situation. So he'll be back.
What's the next step?
I'll write him another notice and then citation if we have to.
Well, that's what I'm wondering as well. If we deny it today of what staff is recommending, then we just wait for you to...
If y'all have the option to give him an extension, I'd love to give him a call and make sure that he shows up. But if y'all are out of extensions and he had his turn, he can start over.
Yeah, he's out of continuances at this point.
He has not appeared at the last 3 meetings.
No, he has communicated with staff, but does he have one?
It's been it was in the early December of the last we spoke.
We're going to double check.
So, Katie, I agree with staff that we should deny with prejudice the installation of an asphalt parking lot, but in the staff recommendation, you did not include any recommendation on replacing the driveway.
That was just kind of an error on staff's part.
Okay.
As we were preparing the staff report, we were considering the two items very much as one, so the recommendation would be to deny both items together.
Okay. Then I move to deny HPCA 15-00086, items 1 and 2, since that's how they're listed, right, on the agenda?
Yes.
And in the report. Items 1 and 2 with prejudice, with the specific finding that the proposed work will have an adverse effect on the historic character of the district or property, is not consistent with the provisions of the guidelines, and is not in compliance with the relevant sections of the Municipal Code 2010 as referenced in the specific findings in Section D of the staff report. I would also like to add a specific finding since we're including the driveway there. The additional specific finding I would like to add is that the proposed 16-foot width of drive is in excess of surrounding drives and as such does not maintain the character present in the district.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion for denial with prejudice from Mila Crank-Clement, second from Jennifer Bourne. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Both items are denied. Great. Moving on. Next case.
HPCA 15-00095 at 714 Northwest 18th Street, Nesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration of possible action on application of Jared Smith, LLC, for certificate of appropriateness to 5, replace driveway, elective, and 7, remove retaining walls and regrade front yard, elective. The commission has seen a couple of different items from this property, and this is the last of what's left for their application.
Staff had recommended approval with condition on replacing the driveway and approval of removing the retaining wall and regrading the front yard. Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm not Jared. I'm Mary Hatch, and I'm here for him today. I was hoping someone else would be before me because I haven't been here before, but luck of the draw, I'm first.
We're not very mean. So I think, does the commission have any questions? So Rita, just to clarify, the applicant has provided this person to come and represent her. Is that an acceptable thing?
That's what I understand from Katie. We were just discussing that.
Okay,
Yes, the applicant contacted staff to say that this representative would be here on his behalf, so she can speak on his behalf.
Great, and we're glad to have you. Thank you for being here. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant's representative or for staff? On the item number 5, replace the driveway, staff had recommended a condition that the finish and slope of the proposed driveway will not change. Was that condition okay with
Yes.
the applicant? Great. And I understand also that with that driveway replacement, there's a retaining wall that the adjacent, that is between this property and the adjacent property that has been there a long time and is maybe not in the best condition. But it's the historic condition. The proposal would be that that wall remains in place as the driveway gets replaced. Is that correct?
The proposal is that the driveway be replaced with the retaining wall not being addressed. So the understanding is that if something about that retaining wall needs to be addressed, the applicant would come back to do that.
I move to approve HPCA 15-00095, item 5, replace driveway with following conditions that are listed in the staff report with specific findings and conditions also within the staff report. Can I also approve item 7 at the same time? Okay. I also approve HPCA 15-0095, item 7, to remove retaining walls and regrade front yard with the specific findings as included in the staff report.
Second.
Great. I have a motion from Jennifer Bourne, a second from Ann Zackritz on both items. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, both items are approved.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Right.
HPCA 15-00186 at 233 Northwest 31st Street, Edgemere Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Monica Reed by Jeff Blake of Gummerson Associates for certificate of appropriateness to 1 Construct Edition, elective. And you have comments from the neighborhood that were at your seats as well.
Great. Thank you. And staff had recommended a continuance on this item.
I'm Jeff Blake. I don't know if you need anything from me, but if you have any, my goal would be to listen to your questions and understand what I need to do to make this fit everyone's needs here. So I'm all ears right now if you have any questions or any additional things I should work on till the next meeting.
Great. Thank you for coming today. Appreciate it.
Did you have the ability to talk with Jan Hook, the chair for the...
I did not. I saw the meeting came up, and it was Sunday, 4 o'clock this last weekend, and I would have been glad to, and I have emailed with her a little bit.
Okay.
And I think my goal should probably be to meet with her face-to-face with their next Edgemere meeting before I see you all again, for sure. I have that regret that I missed that.
So staff had concern about the overall size of the addition as one of the items for consideration.
Katie, could you kind of give us the percentage that y'all came up with, how you came up with that?
Sure. So as we and the applicant have discussed, and staff and others on the commission have talked about, this is kind of a complicated calculation. But the guideline says that they can have the square footage of the addition can be 50% of the footprint of the existing historic structure, or 750 square feet, whichever is larger. So the larger of the two in this case is the 750 square feet. Their total square footage for the proposed addition is 809 square feet.
Were y'all trying to get to the 750 and just felt like that it was not possible, or?
So Katie and I talked about this yesterday, and we think it's a misinterpretation. We were looking at first floor footprint, which was 47%.
Times 2.
Well, times maybe 1.5.
Oh, okay.
So it's about 400 plus feet on the first floor and about 300 feet on the second floor. And we thought by stacking square footage, we were staying within the footprint requirements you all wanted, but the explanation seems to be that it's 750 all in, whether it's all on one floor or whether it's stacked. And so we have a bust of 56 square feet, plus or minus, 59 feet, I can't remember. You know, if the 750 is a deal breaker in terms of exceeding that, you know, the easy answer is to pull back 6 inches across the back of the house. It's an easy square footage to rein in. I would ask the board if you could discern the difference between backing off the project 6 inches, you know, pulling it back south 6 inches versus where it is right now. 56 square feet is a pretty small footprint when you look at.
If we let you go 56,
then the precedent's been set, right? And so I kind of assume that might be the direction. So
it's not you. It's
right.
just
It's going forward, right? So if the 750 is what has to happen, then I'm listening to that.
I'm reading the neighborhood comments, and did you get a copy of those?
I did.
Did you have, I mean, their concerns included the roof.
Yes, and I drove around again this morning to even look at that and kind of gut check what's happening in the neighborhood and the scale of the houses. And I might just share that the abutting neighbor directly north has a similar size lot, similar size frontage in terms of appearance and scale, and the house is 3,045 square feet. This house completed, if approved, well, we'll fix the 56 square foot little issue. But this project approved would be about 2,650. So I just asked that to be considered. It's the neighbor directly west on Harvey in terms of as a bird flies, and if you could look at that house, is also over 3,000 square feet. So her direct neighbors are 300 to 350 square feet larger, and the north neighbor is most applicable because the frontage in terms of the width of the lot and the front elevation is so comparable in size. Just ask that be considered. I recognize there are smaller houses surrounding this property as well.
One of their other comments was the copper. Is there any existing copper?
There is, and I think that just may be something that they didn't see. If you look at the pictures, the existing eyebrows on the house have copper detail on them, and our goal is to match inch for inch the materials that are already on those eyebrows with the eyebrows we'd be putting on the east elevation and north elevation.
So are those particular, they sent a historic photograph. So you feel like that the copper is original? One of the comments from the neighborhood was perhaps that the design was using some of the characteristics that were not historic, that had perhaps been added later?
It's an interesting question, and I see what you're saying. When you look at the attachment of the Edgemere review, I assume they provided the pictures. They go back to the 70s. And the best that I could do to emulate and tie into the design we have today is to work off the last HP-approved edition, which was in 2002. So in 2002, I know the sunroom was added to the west. I can't tell you when the copper was applied to the dormers, but I can only go off the condition that we have today. It would be a big mismatch to not match the copper that's on there today. So I don't know if the goal is to go all the way back in time to 1970 and pick up roofing materials. I can't answer if the copper was there in the 70s. I can only tell you that it may have been applied and approved by the board in 2002.
So there already is an addition.
I don't know, do you have all those pictures? Yes. So the sunroom, you can see what it looked like in 99. The sunroom wasn't there. I can't tell you the square footage of that footprint, but the first floor was existing below it, and it just had a flat roof, and the glass sunroom system there with the railings was the big addition in 2002.
So, Katie, what's the philosophy with that? As you know, the guidelines allow for a 750 square foot addition. Do you just get to keep adding another 750 square feet, or how? Or yeah, how do we do that?
So yeah, I mean the guideline says new additions, and I think it was written considering a new application coming in for a new addition. It doesn't really clearly address if someone was to come in and apply for a 750-foot addition every 5 years. At some point, there's no house left.
Well, but the 750 or 50% is based on the historic. So if somebody comes in at some point and wants to do another addition, because that 750 would be the larger, so they could keep adding on. Oh, interesting.
I have 17 different thoughts in my head.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Interrupt, I'm sorry.
So the 750/50% is based on the size of the historic house. So that's not going to change no matter what. I think if someone had just very recently been approved for an addition and came back for an additional addition, the commission would likely say that's getting too large. Something that we've kind of talked about is that regardless of the calculations and the math and the square footage limitations, I think on a design perspective and an appropriateness perspective, at certain points the commission could certainly say too much has been added on to this structure and we're not going to approve
So historic character would trump any square footage.
Regardless of the mathematical calculations, the commission always has the ability to approve or deny something based on whether or not it's appropriate in general. So that's something we may have to address down the line on.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that. You have to always consider the architectural side of it. But I was thinking about the 750 or 50%. We've used that in the past. I thought it had always been really footprint. So in other words, 50% of the footprint or 750 square feet of footprint is where I've always thought of it as. So because we're thinking about lot coverage, we're not thinking about vertical as much, in my opinion. The more I think about it, but you still have to think about what the architectural effect is.
Well, I think it was intended to address both lot coverage, but also the proportion of the addition to the house, and not having the addition become larger than the historic house itself.
Since this house starts as a two-story house, that makes it a little bit easier for it to be a two-story addition. If it were a single-story house and you were stacking two 750 square foot plates on top of each other,
that's where you get in the architectural.
Yeah. Thank you for not making it a one-story. That would have looked horrible.
Right.
So it's never easy.
To me, it's based on the historic home, the 750, not another 750.
Yeah.
What was there originally, and then a percentage of that.
Right. You can never go over 750 square feet above the historic footprint.
Or the 50% of the site.
Or what?
Or 50% of the site.
50% of the existing footprint.
Right. I'm sorry, the footprint.
So we don't have a new footprint with the addition. Right?
With the sunroom does not have a footprint.
For future.
Yeah, that's not a footprint.
Yeah, so for what it's worth, the 967 original first floor square feet is all original. There's no footprint increase or addition that has happened since the set, well, ever. So the numbers crunch okay with the 750, at least.
So if we say that it's 750 is footprint, and they're within the footprint for the addition, it gets down to architectural character.
Right.
If we say that.
I'm sorry, that's,
So if we say that the 750 applies to the footprint, then we are saying that any structure could add, if they can fit 2 stories behind the house and not have it be visible, then any structure could add 1,500 square feet.
No.
no.
Oh.
Because that's footprint.
Oh, well,
Yes.
Yes, that's what would be.
Yes.
yes, except it gets down to architectural character, like you said.
Yes.
You could always overrule, well, that doesn't make them, a one-story structure with a 2-story addition. I don't know, I'm just
I don't,
devil's advocate.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Well, I can work with 1,500 feet. It's just a little over 800. That would be great if it worked that way. And that's how we interpreted it. So we thought we were, in good, and we thought we were being cooperative there, but it's a bust if it's 750 total.
I think this one is a little difficult in that it's also on a corner.
Yes.
I'm having maybe a hard time imagining the impact of that.
Well, and I did the same thing. I drove down there, as I have all fall as we worked on the project. I don't know if you all can visualize Harvey at this location. It's really almost a one-way street. It's half paved. Everything to the west is like a utility easement and a real green belt to all the neighbors on Harvey. There's probably not a single picture of what it looks like looking west. So that almost gets it. So you can see the neighbor to the north there.
So you really don't, do you not drive by, you don't drive by the,
You don't drive by houses to the west. It's all green belt and backyards and really closed off in terms of a lot of separation with the green belt. It almost feels like an alley.
Yeah, I live around the corner, and that's exactly right. That area is overgrown, and hardly ever even trim it. It's a jungle back there, but it's not a front.
Right.
Really, I wouldn't say.
There's sure not a yard to look into to the west, that's for sure.
Yeah, you couldn't even see it from the house to the west. It's so overgrown.
No, you really can't. And where the new patio is on the second floor, there's a pretty significant step to the east where the addition starts. Literally, if we built this project as drawn, this picture would be almost unchanged, except you would see 8 more foot, another 12, 13 feet on the first floor, with a little bit more outdoor patio on the second floor. So our hope was that the second floor addition and the patio, the new first floor patio, are really tucked behind the structure and, using the yard. And there's also a lot of elevation on that west side. The fence, if you stand as far back to get as good a view as you can into the backyard, the fence practically covers the entire covered patio. You can see about 18 inches of the covered patio. That's what I'm talking about. There's a lot of elevation change.
Changing subjects, fireplace,
Yes.
awfully tall.
We can shorten that. And so, there's form and function. The function in a perfect world, if I could have it 15 feet tall, has the best chance of drawing properly, the smoke coming through. It's at 17'7", I think, right now. So would dropping it 2'7" be acceptable, or does it need to go further? If for reference, if it helps you all, if you look at the fascia, call it the orange fascia on the back of the second story, that outside east corner is about 12 foot tall.
12 feet
from
Ground?
From finished floor, first floor. So a chimney in this case, if it was 15 feet, would tower about 36 inches additionally beyond that.
I'm confused. 15 feet from 12 feet from where to where?
12 foot would be from finished floor of the first floor to basically the first shingle on the corner of the house.
The first shingle.
Just the fascia board, the top of the fascia board.
Here?
Here.
He's saying that. Up there, oh, right there.
Where is the,
I think aligning with that would be architectural.
Katie?
Right, and
What
so,
page is the front elevation drawn on? I'm sorry, I can't find it in my...
The front elevation wasn't drawn because there aren't any changes that were made.
And you would see none of this from the front if you drew a straight-on elevation?
Not a drop, because we were ready to do it, but we don't even pack the front at all.
You wouldn't see the point of the roof?
No. Look at the west elevation and the roof line change, and you'll see
The original is the taller?
Yes.
we stay within the original height of the house.
so you'll have a portion of flat roof
There is a small portion of flat roof.
that aligns with the aligns with the peak of the roof.
That's right.
Okay.
So are there any elements that you know are not historic that you're using in the new design?
That are not historic, that are in the new design.
That may be referring to, there's an expansion of the sunroom that we know is a non-historic addition, and they are replicating those details to make the sunroom
That would be
one
this.
bay longer, basically.
Yes,
Okay.
so we are stretching the sunroom another 8 feet. So if you said, am I adding materials from the 70s? Yes, because the addition of the sunroom was done in 2002, and we're matching those window units from 2002. But it's just 2 more sections of, 32-inch plus or minus.
I mean, for me, it's confusing because I feel like that the philosophy of doing the preservation an addition, is that it should be easy, or not easy, but distinguishable, the part that is new in some way. It should be compatible, yet we should not be fooling people that this was actually the original structure.
Right.
But now, it seems like that we're doing it twice. We're actually trying to replicate identically to the historic property, and then also we're replicating the 1970s. So
It was tricky.
it is a tricky project. That's why it is. And so
So just to address part of that, and Katie and I, so backing up just a little bit, my client Monica loves this house because of the brick veneer, and it was a deal breaker to put any wood siding, any stucco, anything that would differentiate the addition. She really wanted red brick, and I came to Katie with this, and I said, how do we do this? And yet show that there is an addition on the first floor. And if you look closely on the plan, we do give that notch to show that break.
looking closely, though, sometimes I think it works.
Yes.
But, to me, this is, and this is just my thought on it, is that it is so close that it looks like that it was original. And I thought we were supposed to be distinguishing new additions to some degree. I'm not saying I have a solution to that. I'm just saying that it
I'm all
seems
ears.
like that we're expanding the original and the 1970 edition. And that one up there, I think, that maybe bothers me more.
Could on the west elevation, could that northern portion also be recessed back some? So it's not
Well, and so
in line with
it's
the
tricky.
remainder of the west wall?
Right. Reading the guidelines, a step back or more than just a notch is the easy solution that distinguishes. And functionally, the reason why we were unable to do that is because of what happens to the sunroom above. If you step in, try to visualize this, if you step in the first floor, let's just say 8 inches, then we can no longer do the sunroom on the second floor because the sunroom has a continuous run of these glass window systems.
Right.
And to notch that sunroom would look ridiculous.
Right.
And so this sunroom, which my client is adamant about growing if she can, kind of drives the bus to the footprint of the first floor. And that's how Katie and I came up with the notch.
I don't see that looks to me on the look at the north elevation that you could recess that a little bit. It wouldn't align with, so I don't understand.
So keep in mind, like if you look at the picture that's up right now, there are 3 pairs of glass.
I'm just
And
talking about recessing back about 8 inches or a foot or something like that.
Right.
In the first floor plan, if you
Yeah.
look at that, Alan, there's where the existing house and where it goes back to the addition, there's a little notch
Yes.
in that wall that is just, I think it's a step back, either with the brick is removed or the brick is, you have to really want it. You got to look.
She's pointing back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see the notch, but I think the question is why can't
That wall move back a foot,
the new addition wall push to the east a foot?
say.
I'm sorry? I missed it. Sorry.
Yeah, so, and we went there. I mean, we tried to figure it out. The reason that we're unable to do that is if you look at the second floor plan, there are now 4 pairs of glass. The sunroom grows to the north about 8 feet. And we want to keep that line of glass continuous. So there's 8 foot of glass that adds, then there's an outdoor patio. The patio could totally notch back, but the sunroom on the second floor would really be compromised in terms of that 8-inch notch on the first floor would translate into the sunroom, and the sunroom would notch as well. And the sunroom notched would look ridiculous. I mean, I think. So that sunroom was driving the bus to try to hold the veneer of the first floor
I see.
all on the same.
I didn't realize you were expanding the sunroom on the second floor.
I understand that, but we're back to the question, we're not addressing the issue that it needs to be distinguishable. I mean, the other way we could look at it is the 1970 addition has assumed its own historic, whatever, it's almost 50 years old.
Right.
So if we say that's a part of the development of the building, now we have a third part of the development of the building.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I still feel like that we're trying to, in some way, distinguish
Blend.
the addition in a
Mr. Chairman,
compatible
excuse
way
myself.
and not be identical.
Thank you.
That's my thought.
Mm-hmm.
I think the sunroom addition on the second floor is actually 1999, correct? It's not 1970s?
That's right.
They
I'm
had a
sorry.
CA for that in 1999. Yeah, there's many phases of
Okay, well,
alterations.
then that would even, my case would even be stronger for myself in that it's not achieving its historic, yet. And so it certainly needs to be distinguished in my thought on it. It's a difficult.
It's tough.
So if I might, I'm Bill Gummerson, Jeff's assistant.
Hi, Bill.
So, Joe, one thing that hearing what you're saying, we might be able to look at that and address it, because we're talking about a square footage issue, and we do read and understand what we're dealing with in terms of the separation between the two. And so the immediate thoughts are set it back. That becomes uncomfortable on the second floor. The other thing is, do we find a material that's an acceptable linear aspect that just says two different things? So I think in terms of where we're coming from, we can look at that and see if we can come up with an improvement and visit with the neighborhood committee and see where we go with that. Does that make sense? 'Cause
Makes sense.
we hear what you're saying.
See if I can figure it out.
I'm not uncomfortable with the notch, but I don't know what everybody else thinks. I think that's enough of a definement for me.
But
Anyway.
that's only on the first floor.
But I understand that it's being separated, and I also understand that you can't see it from the front.
I mean, still, how would we know? I mean, that's just my thought. How would we know that it was built in its own time? I mean, I think that is the quest of additions, is that they stand alone, even if it's just a minor change, that if you're looking at it, then it reveals the history of the building. It's my thought. I know.
That's just my thought, too.
It's a tough one.
I agree with Mary Jo. Jeff and Bill, it sounds like you want to look at options for materials, visit with the neighborhood, visit with your client. Should we go ahead and continue this to give
Yes,
you time?
please. Mhm.
Okay. Katie, if we continue at 1 month, when do they need the documents in?
So we would be asking you for new documentation by Tuesday of next week.
Oh.
Or we
Okay.
can go to March. That's for the February 3rd
Do I
meeting.
need to decide that now, or?
We do have, the commission has to specify a date.
Well, I probably need to get in front of Edgemere one more time and make this right. So, and we have time. This isn't hard pressing. So why don't I do that? Why don't we skip a hearing?
Okay.
Let me get with Edgemere, and we'll figure this out.
That would be to March 2nd? March 2nd, then?
March 2nd?
Yes.
Okay. Then I move to continue HPCA 15-00186 to the March 2nd meeting.
I second.
I have a motion and a second, but I believe there's someone else to speak on this
Sorry.
topic. And I invite you to, there's the second podium if you'd like to take that one, or?
Yes, I'm Doug East. I'm president of the Edgemere Park Preservation, Inc., and continuation is fine with us. We will be happy to get with him and express some of the concerns we had. The chimney was one of them. The fact that you start the street 5 feet down, it's quite a bit of elevation. And so, yeah, the continuance is fine with us, and we'll get with them.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
My motion still stands.
Great, so I have a motion from Neela Crank Clements, second from Joe Meacham for a continuance. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's continued. Moving on.
March meeting's like February 25th, isn't it?
No, right, March 2nd. The only one that's changed is the June meeting is moved to May.
We try and rename as few meetings as
Yes.
possible. Keep them in their same month, so. Very good, next case.
HPCA 15-00187 at 126 Northwest 21st Street, Heritage Hills East, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Yaniv Zimmer and Jeanette Cruz Zimmer by Sam Gresham of Sam Gresham Architects for certificate of appropriateness to 5 construct new garage elective. I passed out at the start of the meeting documentation of their previously proposed garage. Your staff report that I wrote, apparently in my sleep, is rather inaccurate. I think I had this and another one confused in my head. I apologize. In the staff report, it says that they were previously approved for a garage. That was actually continued. The documentation of that previously proposed garage is what I passed out to all of you. So they've come back with a revision to that increases the size. But I wanted you to have the previous smaller size available as well in case you wanted to discuss that option too.
Thank you. Thank you, Katie. So, garages aplenty.
Hi, my name is Yaniv Zimber. I'm the owner of the property. Long story short, basically, when we submitted, as she said, we had the proposed garage as by the square footage as required, but we also proposed to leave the shed, which you guys look on the pictures, that it's there to renovate it and look it, and just keep it because we do gonna need that square footage. Day before that submission, I just talked to Sam and everything, and we just decided to go and try basically just to eliminate the shed, take that eyesore away. Going to put so much money into that build to that house, we better have a nice backyard as well. The elevation of that house, it's from the street level. If you guys are going to see, it's up to the driveway, it's 4 feet. Up to the end of the property, it's getting to 7 feet, to 6, 7 feet high. So it's very narrow between the two buildings. We decided to get the garage door to make it 2 garage doors instead of a single, so it's actually going to have a space between them. So if you're actually going to walk in the street, you're still going to see just 1 single garage door, which basically going to make it look like a small garage. There is a garage in the back of the property, which is sitting 2 feet away from the property line, and it's 46 feet wide, and it's all over the property. So that is a 46-feet garage, and there is the property east to it. There is a 28 by 40 feet garage, which is a combined garage, and that's a humongous, basically, beast over there. So I proposed basically to just extend the garage to basically 28 feet instead of 21 feet by the depth. There is not going to be any visual of it beside the property on the east that's going to see it, but they already have a 40 feet deep garage. So I don't know if it's going to be a big difference to have a 7 feet difference. That's basically it. So we're ready for construction. We just have that last thing to be dealt with, but I just really don't want to have that shed in that property at the end of the day.
Mr. Zimber, I think staff did, in the staff report, bring up the fact that there are some larger garages around you, but they also say that those are abnormal or not typical for the district or for the immediate area. So I appreciate you bringing those up, but I agree with staff that we really can't, I mean, I wouldn't be able to consider those as a reason for you to have a much larger garage than we normally allow, and others might have a different opinion.
I understand and I agree. The garages that they are smaller in the size, they're actually on the north property, and they are visual from the street because that's in the street level. That's south of that street, that's where the properties are up on the hill, which again I understand, but there is one up there as well, but it's a two-story garage. So, but you're right, it's a mix over there in that street. There is some big garages and there is some small garages. I'm saying that 7 feet depth to add to that garage, it's not going to be visual from anywhere. So.
Any other thoughts or comments on that particular size discussion? Okay.
Seems like we have to go by our square footage guideline.
I agree. I agree. 4.4.6 is fairly clear to me.
You know, we have, I wasn't really aware of this, or I forgot, that 2 single-car garage doors is encouraged by the guidelines, so it's not absolutely mandatory, right?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not a shall. Yeah.
Because I know in my own garage, I don't think you would, if it had 2 doors, I wouldn't be able to get 2 larger cars in. When I have 1 door, then I can kind of jockey cars. It makes it more manageable with 1 garage door. I just wanted to state that for the record.
Correct. And that's the reason the original proposal was 1 door, basically, because of that reason. But just for the visual again, I thought that the 1 door, if you're going to go that route, it'll be nicer, because if that car will be gone over there, then you will see that just 1 single door. And it's just going to be assumption there is 1 car garage.
You know, staff report says the original submission was 441, and I know you said it's got all messed up. I'm looking at the plans that you left us today, and it looks like
that was incorrect too. The square footage is 462, not 441.
Okay.
So,
which is still larger than the guidelines allow for.
Is that why we continued it before? Because it was larger than the 450?
no, I think we continued it previously because the applicant, kind of late in the game before the project came to the commission, decided they did want to propose a larger garage. So we continued it to give them time to come back with this new design.
Okay.
So, but it sounds like there's not a lot of real desire from the commission for that larger garage, though. Is that, have I misinterpreted that?
Were we hoping to find a circumstance that would allow for a larger? And I'm assuming it's because of the research that you did around the block?
Correct.
Okay.
That was the reason. Well,
Okay.
I am actually the neighbor right now.
Oh.
I'm the one that's living on the east side, so I have that 40-feet garage.
Uh-huh.
But, and again, it's my wife's dream to park the cars in the garage, and that's the reason we have garages. When you have a 450 feet for 2-car garage, but when you have kids and you have bikes and you have scooters and you have this, that car is going to be standing up there in the way usually, and that's what we're trying to eliminate. So it's kind of, it's a modern days, and two-car garage just for two cars, it's kind of going to be really an item, and that's the reason we left the shed. But it's like putting $400,000 almost on this house, and it's like, I don't want to have an eyesore in the backyard. I don't want to see bicycle laying around. I don't want to see those things. But I still don't want to see the car parking also in the driveway. And that's the reason we're like, my wife and I just talk, and that's the reason we dropped it just like 2 days before the submission last month. And I was like, we'll try it, but we'll see what will happen. I'm sorry, if you need to minimize it for maybe in between something, instead of 7 feet to 4 feet or 5 feet, but we just something that thing.
I sympathize with your issues. I understand. The guidelines are pretty specific, though, and the commission's been pretty what's a nice word? Firm in holding with that.
We're not trying to be jerks.
But there is always exceptions, right? And I think so. It's also saying in the guidelines.
If there's a unique circumstance.
Correct.
Correct.
And
Okay.
I mean, we sympathize with you, but I think that in order to be consistent, it's not you or anybody else. That is what has been our issue, and it's very difficult for us. It's been a topic of discussion on how to deal with that. But just giving an inch, it just means the next person that comes in, then we have no limit. Then we're back to where we were before, which is before they reduced the size of the garage. So
yeah.
I think that we're probably in agreement that that's not going to go. Would you be interested in reducing the garage to the 450 square feet?
Of course I do. And in that point, I would just like to ask for approval for the original submission for the garage, because we're ready to start construction.
I think the original is still over. Is this correct?
Yes. 462.
So you're still over 12
It's
feet.
440, it was 20 and a half by 22.
No.
21 by...
It's 22 by 21. As
No,
drawn on
the
this.
floor plan we have says 22 by 21.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
16.
Is this the correct floor plan?
Well, I'm
Or
wondering.
do you have another one?
I can go and check
One
it
is
out.
22 by
November.
2110. Is that correct? No.
No, that's the roof. No.
Oh, that's the roof.
No, that's not the roof. I'm sorry.
But if you were,
No, the one on the bottom is 6 plus 16, 22 by 21.
Yeah, the dimensions on Plan A4.1 and the dimensions on Plan A4.2 don't quite match up.
A4.1 is 22 times 21. I don't know what that is.
Yes.
if the applicant is okay with it being 450 square feet,
Correct.
and the commission is okay with the design,
Yes.
I think staff could work with the applicant to make sure that our measurements are accurate.
Yes.
I would be willing to make a motion so that to approve the design with the condition that you come back with a floor plan for 450 square feet.
Before we vote on that motion, I have one other thought. The packet that was left for us today, the cut sheet for the garage door, I don't think this style garage door is compatible with the style of the house at all. I think it needs to be much more simple. Would you be willing to work with staff to find something that would be more compatible to the style of the house?
Of course. Because this garage door is pretty expensive, actually. So, yeah. No, yeah, that's not
Okay.
a problem. That's negotiable. So.
Would you include that in your motion?
Sure. Okay.
But are you talking about the submission?
The old
That's the
one.
garage door that she just gave you now, the single garage
This
door, the
is the-
16-feet one?
Right.
Okay. So
It
that's
looks like
making-
this, page A8.
Okay, and that's the 16 feet. Yeah, okay.
That's the one that I believe is not compatible.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve HPCA 1500178. Okay, I don't have it.
I would say, as illustrated in the previously submitted.
As illustrated in the previously submitted packet with the following conditions, that a revised plan be submitted to staff showing that it will be 450 square feet or less, and that a new door design for the garage door will also be submitted to staff for approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Mary Jo Meacham, second from Jennifer Bourne. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our next case.
HPCA 15-00192 at 2100 North Robinson Avenue, Heritage Hills, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application of West Vaughn by Phoebe Vaughn for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace fence, elective. To give a little background on this, this house, when you look at the Sanborn maps from 1922, had addresses off of both Northwest 20th and Robinson. Currently, it is addressed just off of Robinson, and the entrance faces Robinson, but the configuration of the lot and of surrounding lots would make you think that it faces the numbered street, the cross street. The applicant is essentially proposing to install fencing the way it would meet the guidelines if we considered the south end to be the front instead of the side and line up with the neighbor's fencing. Because of where it's addressed and where we consider to be the front, we didn't feel like we could administratively approve that. But we thought that was a unique circumstance that warranted some consideration.
I agree with staff's findings.
I agree with staff's findings, but specific finding number 2 in the recommendation that the proposed fence will be located to align with the fence of the abutting property to the north. I don't like that one, and I think it's because we've had other cases where people have proposed doing the same thing and...
Because my neighbor did it.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think that's not, I think it's a dangerous finding.
So, but is that location in this case still an acceptable location or an approvable location?
Yes. So maybe there's an and that needs to be added to that or something, that it meets the guidelines and also will align with the neighbor's fence. Or maybe we don't need to say that it aligns with the neighbor's fence at all. But I think when they're on the side street like that.
I think the other findings are strong enough, but, I mean, I don't...
Is it that the fence is supposed to be 2 feet away from the sidewalk?
That's the minimum. They have to be at least 2 feet.
Oh, at least.
And they're sending it back even farther than that so that it will line up with the neighbor's fence.
Oh, okay.
And that's the ones that are along 21st.
That's the ones going up Robinson.
Robinson. I mean, I know this house.
It's a side-facing house. You know, it doesn't face.
Kind of, sort of. Yeah. The massing of the house, though, feels like all the other massings of houses that face the numbered streets.
Yes. I told Angela I may have just completely dreamed this, but I want to say someone told me that this house used to have a doctor's office in it, and that you entered from one side for the residence and one side for the doctor's office. I might have completely made that up. But we looked at the Sanborns to see if it noted anything, because sometimes they'll say, but it appears to have had 2 addresses at one point, one of which was off of the numbered street.
So if anything, the fact that it lines up would add to the unique circumstance rather than just be a finding, correct? Sure. Okay.
That makes sense to me.
I'll make a motion to approve HPCA 15-00192. Is there more than one item?
Nope.
This is items. Item 1 with the specific findings and unique conditions included in the staff report.
Except?
I think she withdrew. Did you want something included on the...
exclude
well,
item
it sounds
number 2.
I mean, I might agree with Greg that is more of a specific finding number 2 is more of a unique circumstance than a specific finding.
But they could propose that, and it is within the guidelines.
Yes, as long as they're at least 2 feet off the sidewalk. They could be even farther off the sidewalk than that, and we would allow that.
I think are you saying staff really didn't need to include number 2 because number 3 says the fence will be in excess of 2 feet from the sidewalk?
Yeah. We could just remove that. Greg, what do you think? Do you think it's necessary we put it in a specific, I'm sorry, the unique circumstance? That specific finding number 2 that you mentioned?
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I think it bolsters it a little bit, but I don't care.
Okay. Motion is stands as I read.
Second.
That makes sense, Paula? Okay, thank you. I have a motion from Joe Meacham and a second from Neela Crank-Clements. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. Moving on to our next case.
HPCA 15-00194 at 1608 Classen Drive, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Art and Elizabeth LeFrancois for certificate of appropriateness to 1 replace fence elective. In this case, we have a fence that the applicant would like to install. Well, there is a front section of fence that they do not intend to replace at all. So that is intended to stay in its current location. They would like to replace portions of the side fence and would like it to stay in that location that's forward of the 40% mark because of the basement stairwell that you see on the side of the house there. They would like to limit access to that. There's also a mature tree that they do not want to damage or remove for the fencing.
So the issue is, since that side fence that's being replaced is forward of the 40% mark, technically there's a portion of it that should be transparent.
Yes.
Okay. But they do not propose that. They propose it to be a solid fence.
The front portion they are leaving and not replacing. They're only replacing the side. And it seemed like maybe not the best design decision to have a chunk of transparent fence forward of the 40% mark when the rest of your fence is going to remain site-proof.
I mean, to me, this is a great example of it's easy to point to unique circumstances. I mean, when we're searching for one, then, but this one, there's a tree, there's a door. I mean, to me, it's easy to state that and to stand behind it.
So my question, though, is they're not replacing that front portion now, but should they come back a month, a year, whatever, and decide they want to replace that front portion because they've already replaced the side?
They need to carefully maintain that.
I would think that we would want them to do a site-proof portion there. I don't know.
You would think we would want them to do a transparent?
Site-proof. I'm sorry, transparent,
Okay.
semi-transparent.
So just so I'm understanding.
That's later.
The view of the fence replacement area in basement location, it's where there's a big rectangle, sorry. Is that showing replacement? There you go. Okay. Not replacement.
So that
I'm sorry.
portion that runs into the house is not to be replaced. What is to be replaced is yep, there you go.
Thank you.
By the trash can going back.
I thought that was the shape of the new fence, and that scared me. You were just showing the fence. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you. PDFs are great.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
I make a motion to approve HPCA 15-00194 as stated, with the specific findings and the unique circumstances stated by staff in the staff report.
Second.
The motion from Mary Jo Meacham, second from Jennifer Bourne. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? See, that item is approved. All right, next item.
HPCA 15-00201 at 917 Northwest 19th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Nathan Cow by Hunter Meekie for certificate of appropriateness to 2, replace front window elective, 3, remove back porch elective, 4, construct rear addition elective, and 5, construct garage elective. One thing I will note, staff had recommended approval for all of the items except the windows because we did not have adequate documentation of windows that replicated others on the house. Between the time the staff report went out and this meeting, we did receive very well-detailed, thorough documentation that you have at your seats. We typically would say that they have to wait till the next meeting. And that's the commission's decision to make if you are comfortable with this or not. Because these staff reports went out so early due to the holidays, we wanted to at least provide this to you. Staff has looked at it. Staff, if we'd had this before we wrote the staff report, would have recommended approval. But if you feel that you need more time to look at that, you could certainly continue that as was recommended.
Can I start in? I have some questions and thoughts. I didn't see in my packet, and I went through it several times, cut sheets for the north, south, and east doors on the house. They're in the elevations. You see a likeness, but there are not cut sheets.
Are you speaking in regards to the door and the side lights?
The what? Yeah, the front door, the side lights. There's a door on the side of the house, and there's a door, the back door.
I agree.
Did anyone else see cut sheets? Did I miss them? So I feel like we need those. Also, the door, the pedestrian door for the garage, I wonder, are they proposing the one that they drew in or the one that a photo is taken of it? Because there's two different doors, and I can find the page, sorry. Okay, so on the garage elevation, page 16 of 35, there's a door drawn in red ink pen, looks like divided lights on the top of it, a solid panel on the bottom. And then if you turn in your packet to page 18 of 35, there's a door, there's a photo of a door, clear glass on the top portion with 3 panels on the bottom. So I think we need to clarify which one. The drawing and the photo that says proposed don't match. Is someone here to clarify that? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hunter Mickey. It's the photo
Okay.
that I was wanting to use.
Okay. And
Hello, thank you.
Thanks for coming. Be sure you sign in our little
Oh, okay,
pad.
sure will. Thank you.
my last comment is on the proposed light fixtures. I think they were from Home Depot. Pages 24 and 25 of 35. The house is a very simple, square craftsman, and I feel like these lights are more new suburban Edmond style. That doesn't mean they're bad. I just don't feel like they fit with the style of the house. And I would suggest that you find lights that have more simple lines and that do better fit with the house. So I don't know how, if that's something that we want to come back to us or if staff wants to look at that. Those are all of my thoughts, and I'll open it up.
I agree. What, do you have information on any of the doors?
On the what do you call it, the cross
What you're
section of the
proposing?
door?
No, just
a cut sheet.
The cut sheet.
Or the front door.
We
Yes,
don't have a cut
I don't
sheet.
have the cut sheets of the doors.
So
Okay.
you don't have a drawing of the front door or the side door, any of the house doors? No.
I don't have the cut section of the door. What?
We don't even
We
have
don't
a
need a
picture of the door.
Just like manufacturerer's information.
Yeah, I do.
Sheet on what that door is.
Replacement of the door is not actually on the agenda.
Right.
Or it's shown on the drawings. It may be something that we did do administrative, that is an administratively approvable item because it was a, I think, close approximation of the historic door. So it's on the drawings, but it's not on your agenda for consideration today because it qualified for administrative approval.
Is that the same with the lighting? Because it's not on the agenda either. I'm not opposed to the lights, but
Well, the lighting's in here.
just don't want to not.
Not listed.
Give it to me to pick things that are not on the agenda. But those are things that stood out to me that are character-defining features, and I do think need to be considered.
So I believe the lighting is part of the addition and perhaps part of the garage. Let me look at how these are. So that's why those are.
It says on all doors on house. Exterior lights. On page 25.
All doors on house and garage.
And then the hanging is the front porch.
We had administratively approved installation of light fixtures at the porch. We can work with the applicant on that and see if, since the commission doesn't want to approve those for the addition and the garage, which is still up for your discussion, if we want to select the same light fixtures throughout, pick something that's more compatible.
I can change all the light fixtures to be something more compatible.
Okay, so the doors are not up for consideration today. The light fixtures that are up for consideration, we would like something different. We would require something different. Do we feel we need to see those?
Staff?
Katie?
Well, since we administratively approved the ones you don't like. No, I think you gave
And let's be clear,
good
it's not
guidance
that I don't like them. They're fine.
Not
I
appropriate.
just feel like they're not comparable.
Especially with this house.
Compatible with the
Yes,
style of the
I
house. That's
understand.
all.
It's the four square house, very simple square lines, clean edges, and those light fixtures have the curves on the
I can
top.
send you a link of light fixtures that I think would work. That's helpful.
Okay.
I think based on those comments, staff would be comfortable working with the applicant if you all are okay with that.
I am. I am.
I move to approve HPCA 15-00201, all items, resulting in addition to the rear of the house and the construction of the garage, and also replacement of front window, including all specific findings as called out in the staff report.
I would suggest that you somehow in your motion note that additional information was received on the windows, since that item was recommended for continuance.
And if you can add a condition about the light fixtures.
Lighting.
Sorry.
That's okay. With approval with the addition of information on the windows that were missing, that are now a part of the packet, and also the condition that the light fixtures, which are included in this packet, will be changed and approved with staff.
Okay. I'm sorry, what did you say about the windows?
Thank you for including.
Oh, okay.
This is-
Sorry.
Windows are
That's
thumbs
okay.
up.
My brain's getting fried already, so.
That's okay.
All right. Have a motion?
Second.
Making motions is teamwork. I like it. Have a motion from Jennifer Bourne, second from Ann Zacharitz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. That item, all items are approved.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next case.
HPCA 15-00202 at 1535 Classen Drive, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Brett Feeback by Catherine Montgomery of Preservation and Design Studio for certificate of appropriateness to 6 construct pergola elected.
Thank you.
Hi, Catherine Montgomery and Mrs. Feeback and her daughter, here to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't see the daughter on the application. So kidding.
That was administratively approved.
I have a question. This guideline 2.5.24 says the bottom of the canopy of a new pergola shall not exceed 8 feet above the finished floor height. And this does by quite a bit, correct?
Well, 8 feet above the finished floor height, the floor of the house is actually elevated from the grade level by about 2.5 to 3 feet.
So that would be 10 and a half or so, but it does exceed that, right?
It does exceed that.
Okay, so my question is, that means you need a unique circumstance, so what would that be?
The main reason that we were going with the height that we had has to do with the elevation of the first floor. And then we were trying to be designy and line up the eave line of the proposed pergola with the side, one-story side projections from the house.
My issue with that is it seems like if you're lining it up, that any one-story house then would have the same issues. So this guideline would never be met for a one-story house. And to me, if we take that position, that just makes it frivolous, the guideline. But that's my opinion. And you asked for us to say something if we were going to vote against it, and so that's it.
We have been talking a lot today about unique circumstances, and I just want to make sure that we have a unique one. I do agree with you of being, designy. To me, that's a unique circumstance. But I don't know if it'll apply with the rest of the commission.
Only because I just wanted to make sure that you wanted it. It wasn't because there wasn't an area where you couldn't get under it, like walk down a step or something like that. But that wasn't part of the.
Well, we weren't really certain exactly, and we haven't structurally engineered the pergola itself. We did include a cut sheet from a place that you can get like pre-made or kits for pergolas. That's on page 16. And they give certain dimensions for their pieces that they use for their kits. How our pergola differs from the one that they make is that we want a column-free space. So that means that our structural depth is going to have to be a little bit deeper than what they actually have in their kit. So we haven't engineered it. We don't know exactly what the structural depth is going to be, but we're 14.5 feet above the grade, which is about 3 feet. So we're about 11.5 feet above the porch height. So, there's a step to go into the house from there, so there's another 6 inches. So, we're in the neighborhood. If we had to meet that requirement exactly, then we can accommodate that. I don't know exactly what height the structure is going to be, but I know 14.5 feet is going to be enough to make it work.
So whatever the structural depth ends up being, the 14.5 foot above the grade would be the kind of the locked-in number, and everything else would kind of stack downward.
Correct.
From that. Okay.
I mean, I agree with Greg unless you have I thought maybe there was an area that you had to raise it in order to walk under it, that might be the reason.
I'm sorry?
I thought there might be an area where you had to raise, where you needed extra height to get under it due to stairs or something.
Well, if you look at the design of these pergolas, if you use the kit example, at the corners you have these brackets that come down that help stabilize the columns. So we do have those brackets. And I thought we had sent a detailed drawing to staff. We had sent you like a detailed, closer section, some additional information that had been requested while we were processing this. It was an email. So that you are correct. That's so that we could get past that bracket.
Well, 2 things, I guess. I only pointed out the one that was the shall, but the other one, you have the should not exceed 9, and we're well in excess of that anyway you cut it.
And 12 inches, respectfully, the guideline 12 inches probably is not going to be enough structural depth, even for a small, even for the size of kit that we provided the example of.
As far as the height? I guess I'm just really not understanding the need for other than the design. I agree with, I see the design idea, I just don't see the actual.
Staff had requested some additional information, and I know we provided a closer detail section through the pergola near the stair, and I believe we sent that by email, but it's not included in your packet.
Okay. Because, for example, you're referring to the kit, but it says that the posts are 96 inches, and the total height's 101. I guess I still don't understand why it's higher.
We're not in any hurry. If there's some additional information that we need to provide, we can come back next month.
Katie? Am I missing something?
I'm afraid, I think Angela worked this staff report and I didn't, so I don't recall that additional detail. Staff will certainly look to see what we have or have you resend it.
And I don't have it with me today, so.
And I think staff didn't anticipate, staff recommended approval, so. So certainly if there's additional information that the commission thinks would make you take a decision one way or the other, if they're not in a hurry, we could continue and come back to it.
Having that detail is just to show the structure depth and where it's from the, okay.
And it shows more specifically, it shows the corner brackets that you do have to be able to get your head underneath.
Right.
In the corner where the staircase is.
And they encroach.
Yes.
I don't see that. I mean, even if you had the brackets, I mean, you can bring a detail if we want to continue, but I still, there's brackets and you know, some of them are lower, but I don't see that, they would just have to be huge for it to me, to impact the walking past them. I mean, because most of these are 8 feet tall, I think. They're usually not above they're not usually higher than the top of the first floor or the roof line. Generally, a one-story. I mean, pergolas are usually equal to or less than the height of the eave. That's my thought. So that would generally be, around 8 feet.
And is that what the guidelines are trying to say?
I mean, I think so. I mean,
I think we'd just be better off continuing this so that we could get that detail that we prepared, unless you found it.
I've never received it. I'm sorry.
All right, well, I know we sent it, because I know I paid Sarah for drawing it.
I make a motion to continue. I make a motion to continue HPCA 15-00202 to the
February 3rd?
February.
To the February 3rd meeting.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to continue from Joe Meacham, second from Jennifer Bourne. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that
Thank you.
Continue to next month. Thank you. All right, we have no other business today under other business. Communications and reports.
Administrative approval items, staff can attempt to answer questions about that, or feel free to contact us after the meeting. We have one administrative withdrawal to announce, and 2 administrative closures.
An administrative closure means that
we give applicants, we request additional information from applicants, and when we do that, we give them a certain amount of time to provide that. If we don't receive that additional information by that time limit, then we are able to administratively close it. And that's so that we don't have open, pending applications dragging on for months and months at a time while we're waiting for them to finish providing the documentation we need.
Great. Okay. And City Council, we have no items. Board of Adjustment, we have no items to Board of Adjustment. Planning Commission, also none. Ad hoc committee to identify potential landmarks.
I don't think we have anything to report. Alan has left us, but we did want to comment that this year was designated Preservation Year by the governor for the state of Oklahoma. So it would be a great year for us to designate 100 or 200 buildings as landmarks. Hopefully not. That would be be an ironic little twist. Yeah.
Katie, could we, there were several of us on that committee. It's been a number of months. Would you mind sending a recap to the committee? And probably we need to start, we need to get up again. Yeah.
Set another meeting and set kind of a regular recurring date.
Okay. Anything from Municipal Councilor today? I want to talk as little as possible. Next meeting date, the next regularly scheduled meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission is February 3rd, 2016 at 2 p.m. At the Municipal Building, City Council Chamber. New applications for this meeting were received January 5th, 2016. New information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4:00 p.m. Tuesday, January 12th, 2016. The next regularly scheduled workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission is Wednesday, March 9th, 2016, from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at 420 West Main Street, Suite 1900. A special workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission is scheduled for January 27th, 2016, from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at 420 West Main Street, Suite 900. Any items from commissioners today? Great. Appreciate your attendance today. Any citizens to be heard? No. All right. With that, I will call us adjourned.